It is true. It is true that when I was a postgrad, we were already doing immediate implant, and we were not understanding fully the biology, and we've learned from our mistakes.
You're very well known. You're one of the most recognized clinical educators and researchers in Europe and globally. What other defining moments or projects or people have shaped France Lambert we see today?
I wanted to explore the world, and then a tipping experience was the ITI scholarship. And for me, that was really an opening to the world. And it was an amazing experience, yes.
Welcome to ProTalk. Welcome to the Pulse of Dentistry. Today, George and myself have the pleasure to have France Lambert from Belgium as a guest. Welcome, France.
Welcome, France.
Welcome to Basel.
Hello, Andreas. Hello, George. I'm very happy to be here. This is a great privilege. This ProTalk has become very famous.
We hope it was something good.
We hope, exactly. Yeah.
And we hope it creates some inspiration, yes, for people out there. So thanks a lot for coming, France. You're very well known. You're one of the most recognized clinical educators and researchers in Europe and globally. You're leading the department for periodontology, for oral surgery and implant surgery in the University of Liège in Belgium. But beyond this, you're very active also in associations. I think the ITA is a very good example. I'm impressed about your journey there from being an ITI fellow in Harvard now to leading the global ITI research committee. And we come to this. And yeah, beyond this, you are also a family person and you are very active in sports. So it's going to be a very exciting conversation with you today. So for the people that don't know you, France, who is France Lambert in 1 minute?
Yeah, you've already said a lot from a professional perspective, but more personality. I would say that maybe I'm a dreamer. I'm a dreamer, but I'm also an achiever and a doer, so I can get my act together. And I usually like to do that as a team. You know, I really like sharing, co-creating in my work. And the team approach is very, very important. And you said I'm a family person. I'm also a mom of 2 little boys, and this takes a part of my life. Yes.
Yes, we notice having 3 boys and 2 boys. There's always energy around. I can imagine. In your professional life, you focused on the field of periodontology. You know, how did it start? You know, how did you draw your attention to this very exciting field?
Yeah, that's actually a good question, because it started actually with implant dentistry. And I was at high school, I was an average student. You know, I was not very motivated. I was 1 year in advance, but I was not the brightest, let's say. And
how does that fit together?
I had to choose a topic for thesis. And I knew already that I was attracted by the medical field and also a little bit by dentistry, because this crafting thing, you work with your hands when you're a dentist. So I was attracted to that, and I wanted to choose a topic that was new. It was in 1996. So and I decided to explore implant dentistry when I was 16, basically.
Really? Wow.
Yes. And I started to go in clinics and assist surgeries. I also fell during surgery.
You fainted because of the blood.
Exactly.
Okay.
But and at the end, I did a really, really good job, and I succeed really well at the end. I was really bad in German, and this has erased my bad notes in German. If you want to know
compensated
the
basically the German. Yeah.
So then I decided to go in dentistry.
Okay. So and then you decided to study dentistry and focus on periodontology. Where did you do your specialization?
In Belgium, you actually have the opportunity to do it directly after the studies. So I have to say that when it comes to perio, in third year of dentistry, I had a wonderful professor, Eric Rompen. He's also my mentor. And what is Eric is a storyteller. And when I was there in the class of perio, I was like eating everything he was explaining. So this was very clear from that third year that I would do a specialty perio, and I had the opportunity to do it directly after my dental studies. So I was a dentist at 22, and I was a periodontist at 25, and everything went really, really fast.
What is it that you learned from Eric Rompen? I mean, he's no doubt he's one of the greatest, I'd say, and it's amazing to have a mentor like Eric Rompen. What is it that, how did he influence you?
He is a professor that is an excellent surgeon and clinician. So I think this is why when I'm an academic, but I always like to say that I am first a clinician, and I treat patients, and I love treating patients. I love to do other things like teaching, research, and we are going to talk about that. But he's an excellent clinician, and he really, really understands the biology. And I think he was always biology driven. And this is an heritage I got from him very early on.
So from there, studying and having the possibility in early stages to work with Eric Rompen to who you are today, what other defining moments or projects or people have shaped France Lambert we see today?
But after the specialty, I was very local, and I could speak French, and I didn't know English really well, but I wanted to explore the world, and then a tipping experience was the ITI scholarship, and I was very lucky that I was basically selected to go there in Boston at Harvard School of Dental Medicine. H.P. Weber was the program director, and for me that was really an opening to the world. And this program is really, really amazing. I mean, I think now when you look at the KOL in our field, in implant dentistry, a lot of them went through this program. And
this program is an incredible track record. If you look at the important, let's say, dental influences today and professors on the academic side, but also in private practice.
And for me, that was really the start of a career. And I've learned English there because my English was not good, and I met many people, and I was also very lucky that year also German Gallucci just arrived from Geneva. So I had the opportunity to work with him, and Urs Belzer was there for a sabbatical. So
the dream team.
I couldn't be in a better place. Yeah. And it was an amazing experience. Yes.
So I can imagine you shaped your prosthetic muscle then, sounds like, if you have those three together, right? Is it? So does this influence the way you look at patients today, being focused on perio and implant surgery?
I mean, I'm a periodontist, and I'm exclusively perio and surgeries, but I mean, I'm very curious about the overall field. I working with, colleagues, and I love pluridisciplinary treatment, and I think you need to understand. I mean, as a periodontist, we know the importance also of the provisional. So I also do the provisional part sometimes, not always, but sometimes. And I think if you're a specialist, you also really need to be curious about the other fields.
And the onset of immediacy probably changed also a lot. So maybe in the past, there was less of interest in the restorative part when you did the surgery, but now it's so tightly linked together. So you actually want the patient to walk out with the temporary. So you have to basically also be curious and interested in the prosthetic part.
The prosthetic component are so important to guide the soft tissue healing that it is for me really something between surgical and prosthetic.
I have a question here. So you started with Eric Rompen, and I know that Liège was very early in terms of immediacy, and then you've been in Harvard. I mean, those are very different philosophies if it comes to an immediacy or, let's say, a loading protocol perspective. How did you perceive this,
It is true. It is true that when I was a postgrad, we were already doing immediate implant, and we were not understanding fully the biology, and we've learned from our mistakes. And it's true that I faced, during my scholarship, another philosophy, also another valid philosophy, and I think in my profession, I like to be open-minded. I would not say, okay, there is like one way to do and this is the best way. There are different routes to Rome, and you need to basically feel which way you want to take. And my way is, I would always want to go for minimally invasiveness, respecting the biology, and if possible, be as fast as possible if you don't compromise the results.
So very patient-centric then, finally. Let's go back to the ITI fellow, the ITI internship that you did in Harvard. So you grew from, having this ITI scholarship in Harvard now to be one of the board members, actually, the global board members leading the ITI, which is a very prestigious position. How do you look at the ITI? What makes the ITI such a special community for professional development?
Yeah, I think the ITI is an amazing community. There is a place for everybody. I think, whether you are an academic, a young, experienced clinician, I think there is like so many things you can get there. It is really a wonderful organization, and I also like very much the way it has developed over the years. Because if I have to be truly honest, when I was a scholar, I was not fully into this very conservative approach, and because I was not trained initially like that. So I think now the ITI has really developed and is now much more open-minded, and has also helped building some evidence. The evidence-based approach is very important because this is a way to provide safe treatments for the patients. But I also like to be progressive. For me, I always want to challenge what we are doing today. I hope that in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now, we're changing, and we are in an era where everything is changing and there are so many opportunities. So I'm very excited about what we have in front of us, actually.
Yeah. No, and I agree. Scientific data has something to do to create, let's say, safety for the patient, but also progress. It's both. And now you're leading the Global ITI Research Committee, which is actually the position that shapes also the vision and the strategy behind the research focus of the ITI. What is your vision behind this? If you look back in 5 years from now, what would you wish to have achieved?
Yeah, and when you were talking from scholarship to being here now in the board and leading a committee that it's really inspirational to shape this, because the research committee was, always granting research, which we are still doing, but we also now try to go beyond that and propose new opportunities for the young researchers. We have now developed a research mentoring program because we don't want to invest in some specific research project, but we also want to invest in people. The ultimate goal is basically to improve the quality of research in implant dentistry worldwide. So, and we know that there are some groups that are in a very good environment, that have good mentors, but there are also out there lots of young researchers that need
have less guidance.
To have guidance, and this is what we want to provide and bring talents together, like mentees and mentors. And when I like to say bringing talents together, because we also in a time now where experienced people, and I don't feel yet fully experienced. I'm a little bit in the middle of my career, but there is this intergenerational exchanges. Yeah. I actually today learn a lot from my postgrads. I learn a lot from the younger generation, and I think it's all about an exchange today. We learn from each other. And
particularly in this area of digitization, where actually you have some digital natives that, it's just natural for them to use some tools. And for us, we have to make sure that we keep up with this young generation. So I think this exchange has become even more important nowadays that technology advances so fast.
Yeah, I think that's a very important finding, to be honest. I think this is, it's written in many books that we are in an age and where we, let's say, are in a generation where we will learn probably a lot much more from the young generation than any generation before us. And I think we need to be very mindful of this because technology is evolving so fast and comes probably a bit more natural to younger people than to us that are growing up with this technology.
And I really believe that also investing into the people makes a lot of sense because the knowledge has become omnipresent and omni-accessible. So it's not that you actually need to have access to very specific knowledge and you go to a group and only that group can help you with that topic. You can read that everywhere. So now it's about the smart people of thinking in the right way and actually then doing the research. So I think it makes a lot of it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and also curating knowledge. I think that's what the ITI also does. It's not about asking an AI and just believing what's written there, but to make sure that there is really the data behind. And I think this is also what the ITI is doing very strongly.
Yeah, and having the right interpretation. I mean, this relates to critical thinking.
But I like what you said to help to bring together talent and to mentor young talents in the research career. And I have to say, I'm truly impressed by what I saw at the ITI annual meeting in Paris. That a lot of young talents, a lot of young energy that is driving the ITI. And I think this is what you guys in the board are doing very well, to have this focus and to make the ITI very attractive, a good place to be for the young generation. So that was very impressive to see. Beyond the ITI, there's more. You're very active in the EFP. You're doing local education. What is the motivation behind your passion for mentoring and helping people to progress?
Yeah, I think being an academic, it's different jobs actually. You have the clinical part, you have the research parts, and of course you have the education part. And I think seeing people growing is fulfilling, and yeah, this is what makes me happy. I think at the end is to see some of my team members that we're doing a good job together, and to see some of them growing. I think this is what I like about teaching.
And teaching has different setups and different sizes of rooms, and you're feeling some of the biggest audiences in congresses. So you speak in front of a lot of people. How important is this for you, and how much is this shaping your purpose for, let's say, dentistry and educating people?
Yeah, I think I'm very privileged to have this opportunity to have big audience, and this is an opportunity of sharing what we are doing, what we are developing, and basically also share how to do it in a proper way, because at the end the people that benefit from this is the patients, is the population, and it's a very nice role and opportunity.
Yeah, and I think we have to speak about one topic as well, because we are very passionate also to help more female talents and leaders, to progress, and I think you are a great role model for us in this sense. I mean, you are one of the female leaders in academia. You're on stage. You're famous today, you do great work and you love it. I sense this, and you have the passion for this. So how did you get to this point, and what were some defining moments for this, some supporting systems that have been important for you to develop the career you have developed? Because as you said, in parallel, you also, let's say, created a family. You are a mother of two boys. So what was really critical for you to be able to go this way?
I'm very passionate about my work. I love it. And for me, it doesn't have to be, but for me, this is part of my balance, and my family knows it, my kids know it. And we were yesterday evening talking about maternity leave. And and I feel very close to my kids, and I spend a wonderful few months during the maternity leave, but I was also very keen to go back to work. And not everybody wants that. I mean, first of all, it's a choice. There is no external pressure, but this is true that in our field, and especially in the surgical aspect, it's very often that I'm in a room or in an environment with more
males.
male than female. That's. But I don't feel. We are in a country in Belgium where I never felt treated different, but I also see from my students or in general that we are not behaving the same. We don't have the same approach, and we need to be approached differently. A woman would not spontaneously stand up to say, I want to do that, because we need to be pushed a little bit. And, there are, I think, science around that as well. So yeah, I'm very happy to be considered as a role model. And I would always support women and not only women, of course. It is a little bit sometimes a tricky topic. Should they be treated differently? But I think the environment should be, we should address them differently.
Mm-hmm. In what way?
For example, if there is an open position, maybe a woman will not feel confident to even apply. Mm-hmm. And if someone tells her, you have the right profile, you should do it, then this is helping.
That can change a lot.
These are little things,
Yeah, exactly. It's so similar to what we observe, when we, let's say, recruit for leadership positions. Mm-hmm. It needs a lot of support and encouragement, actually. Who encouraged you then to do this? You said there was people encouraging you. Who was the people encouraging you?
I think I have an inner desire to go there. That was very clear. Even when I was a student, I knew that I wanted to have an academic career. My grandmother was a physician, and she was one of the female physicians. Yeah. So probably now that you ask me,
maybe that has a big influence.
Yeah, during the war, she was a student, and she was in the resistance, and it's true that I was when I was a kid, I interacted with her, and probably she's my role model.
So you were looking up to her, which is, she must have been a great person, from what you're saying. There is also a community question on this topic, and I'm not surprised, from Kelly, from Australia. Any advice for female clinicians looking to advance into leadership and, being an opinion leader?
That's a very good question. Thank you for the question. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Believe in yourself. Don't be shy. Ask for advice. But if there is like even a very small wish to get there, they have to go for it.
Go and try.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good advice.
Excellent.
So you're also a very good example for us of building a collaboration between academia and industry. Mm-hmm. It's no secret. We are collaborating a lot. We do research projects together. But you build an ecosystem around you, which I think is important and brings a lot of exciting projects to your team, I can imagine. How do you do this? How do you create this ecosystem, and how do you look at the collaboration, academia and industry?
I think, I would, with the industry or with others, it's always nice to look at synergies, collaboration and synergies. I would also, want to have trust. For me, the trust and to be on good foundations is something important, and then it brings good vibes. But we always stronger together than alone. I was telling at the beginning, I am a team person. I have, some of my. I'm creative. I have ideas. I was telling I'm a dreamer, but I need to be sometimes a little bit put back on the track, and if it doesn't always come naturally from my side, and some of my colleagues sometimes do, and then together we find a good strategy. Mm-hmm. With the industry, this is very similar. I'm learning a lot from the industry, and I want to learn more, because the approach is very different, and you in the industry are much more advanced when it comes to strategy compared to the academic. Sometimes the academic is a little bit slow to my taste. So I think it's an exchange and a win-win.
I mean, the way we know you, you always, as you said in the beginning, you're in a dreamer state, and you wish to push things forward. So that's always appreciated. And let's face it, I think at the end, and I think a lot of people that have not this close collaboration underestimate this. It's a symbiosis between industry and academia. We cannot do good research on products and stuff that we have in the pipeline without you guys. So we need each other. It's a coexistence that for us is success critical, especially if you really want to innovate, right?
It doesn't go without. So this symbiosis is very strong, and it's also for us being close enough to what we call the problems we're solving. I mean, who can better describe that? What does not work? What is your clinical dream? That how can we do dentistry in 10 years from now? That's something that needs to come from academia, from clinicians. And I think, to have this understanding of how you can formulate those things that you want to be solved so that we actually understand it, and vice versa, how can we explain what input we need? I think that makes the collaboration strong, and we see this with some of the clinicians working extremely well. And then also there is innovation. There is all of a sudden in this intersection, most of it I think happens. So if you stand for yourself and alone, I think there will be no progress.
Yeah.
This is a complementarity.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So to close on the personal chapter, we have a question from someone that is named Ike Schignitz, and I think you know him very well. His question is very simple. Why triathlon as a sport?
Yeah, we haven't talked yet about sport. I'm also trying to integrate that a little bit in my life, in the complex equation. Because I'm sportive, but actually, I was talking, I like to work as a team, but for sport, I'm not a team player. I'm very bad with everything like balls, and most of the team sports are with a ball. I like endurance sport. I'm not as crazy as Ike. I'm not doing Ironmans and so on. But the triathlon is a complete sport. Swimming is known to be very good. Biking as well. And in Belgium we have a biking culture. In the south of Belgium we have a mountain biking culture. So this is something I grew up with. And the running is the easiest to do. Just
wherever you are
to train. So I thought it was a good mix because if you do only running, for example, it's not very good for your joints. And endurance and complete work sports. But I'm not a crazy person. I just do little triathlons to have an objective and to keep up on moving.
But why does it matter to you, the sports? Is it something to do with your balance? I mean, I imagine with, your family, the research, the speaking activities.
Yeah, you need to focus your energy somewhere, but I think it helps me reflecting. It's also a little bit part of my competitive. I have a little bit of a competitive mindset as well. So, but it's not a competition with others. It's a competition with myself mainly, I would say. We have to integrate the body in life, and
yes, it's something to do with longevity, for sure. Yeah,
yeah, we touched upon this also with Ike, so that's
Okay,
good. So then let's also dive a bit into your clinical work, so clinical research particularly, and as a professor and also as the chair of the ITI Research Committee, you see a lot of ideas actually coming and also going. But what do you believe is important topics for dental implantology in the next years to come? Where should our industry, but also your profession, focus on?
There is a boom. Now we have, of course, there was all this digital era that has progressed a lot over the last years, and it will continue. And I think it did change a lot what we are doing, and the precision, I think, and the quality of care when it comes to implant dentistry. this for me, I feel it like a huge benefit. And now you have all the AI era coming and integrating all this together. We will shift towards like more personalized, targeted treatments. And I'm very curious how the medical field, not only the dental or the implant dentistry field, is going to move. We have to the profession is going to change.
Yeah.
And we need to, and I think it's a good thing because it's for a better in principle. But we also have to integrate that ethically talking, and I'm not sure I realize fully how it is going to be in the next 10, 20 years.
Yeah, maybe we can touch upon this a little bit later as well, because it's very fascinating to also hear from you how you could envision, being also a dreamer person, this to actually change our profession, and maybe particularly that oral health has a stronger link than we believe with general health than it is maybe lived today. And maybe some of these movements, they also go in the direction to change the profession of dentists. Because the more you're involved also in general health, the more you have broader responsibility. So how could that evolve? But maybe we have some time in the last question, because we're there. Of course, we want to know a bit more how you see dentistry in 10 years from now. You are also very active in creating guidelines in different ways. And just recently, also the ITI treatment guide number 14 became published. It's about immediate implants. And here, maybe for the audience, could you share what are the 1 to 2 key takeaways that every implantologist should actually know today?
Yeah, for me, it was a very good, nice opportunity, a privilege to write this treatment guide together with Adam Hamilton. It was very nice also to structure the ideas when it comes to the immediacy, and it was nice also that Adam and I, we didn't have lots of arguments. We were really having a very similar vision, and I'm very happy with what we came with. This is really like a nice little cooking book for immediacy, and also in a way that it's safe and predictable, because we don't want to compromise the outcomes. I'm not saying this is the only way we can do it, that we should do, but now definitely immediate implant, especially the single, here in the book we consider single tooth replacement is something reliable. It's something that works. Of course, you need to do it in a proper way. You should not compromise implant position. We know that prosthetically driven, but also biologically driven implant positioning is important. And this is what might be a little bit more complex to do with immediate implant. But on the other hand, immediate implant goes with a flapless surgery. So at the end, the procedure is straightforward and less invasive. And this is what I like about that. But the key message is, yes, this is predictable in certain cases when it's favorable, but definitely the indications as ground, we have the evidence for that. And the planning is really a key to be successful. In a few words, this is what I would say.
Excellent. So for everyone invited to look into if they haven't yet done that. In mid-June this year, there was in Boston the GCCP, so the Global Consensus for Clinical Guidelines, and you're one of the around about 120 selected clinicians that actually participated. Can you share a bit what you discussed there, and what you hope that these guidelines will actually have an impact in terms of benefit to the patient in the end?
I mean, the GCCG is particularly an important consensus. I mean, there are many consensus workshops organized by different organizations. But here, what was very special and unique is that this was bringing organizations that are linked to implant dentistry from all over the world. So it's really, okay, we all sit together and we discuss a specific topic. And in this case, for the first one, it was about edentulous patients, how to restore edentulous patients. And it also brought scientists, academics, but also clinicians like experts. And we don't have the evidence for everything. So of course, for a consensus, we look at the evidence, we look what is out there, but we don't have all the answers. And then we complete the questions with some of the opinions from experts. And based on that, we all kind of agree with a treatment guideline, like a frame that at some point patient can be treated in the different part of the world with a certain standard of care. And this is also going to be very important in order that patients are treated well all over the world. But it also gives a mainstream. Of course, at the end, you know, you need to adjust that, because you're treating a patient, you're treating a human being that has specificities, which is, of course, we talked about oral health. We can talk about personality, economics, or demand.
It's very individual.
So we need a mainstream, but then at the end, it's the clinician, and maybe in the future a bit more of AI as well, helping to shape the proper plan, the proper treatment plan and procedure.
I find it very interesting when you say it's also becoming clear at those consensus conferences what evidence is lacking. So you're probably looking for evidence and you see, I didn't realize, but it's not covered to the degree that I would wish for, to come up with guidelines. So how do you see the link between that work and also your work in the ITI Research Committee meeting? Does it give you some guidance where to invest in research?
Absolutely. And actually, this is sometimes one of my big frustration is that sometimes we doing things since years in practice, but there is not strong evidence. And actually doing research to demonstrate something is not so easy, and it's quite slow, and sometimes it can be a little bit disappointing. And you can also, you don't need to demonstrate everything, you know. So some questions are kind of so logic or so yeah, then I don't remember the question.
Those are probably the guidelines also can fill in some of these gaps, that you don't need to research everything, but it's just common practice, and you actually put it into into a cookbook, not to oversimplify, but I think that's an important element.
Yeah. And it gives also the guidance for what is missing and what is important to demonstrate. Yeah, it helps shaping the future also of research, definitely.
I think a very interesting topic is, the different speeds that we see now. You said, look, sometimes your frustration is how slow it is to generate good evidence. It just takes time, and we know it. It's a demanding process. And on the other side, you have the speed of innovation, driven by digital ecosystems, AI, technology that is outpacing the speed of how fast we can create evidence. How do you see this one?
Absolutely. I mean, now this is going so fast in the technological developments that building the evidence behind that at the same pace is really complex.
It's difficult.
And also when you do like a very well-designed study, it's a very specific environment. And this is important studies to answer like a specific research question. But it's not necessarily what's happening out there. And I am convinced that the real world data is also super important and can help to build evidence quicker. And it's a different type of research question, I would say, but it represents what is really happening. So, and now with all these building of this big data, and I think this is almost our responsibility to collect the data of what we are doing and have some large scale data that will help understanding what's going on on the real life, the real world, but also we can integrate all this data in order to implement and
to learn from
having predictive models and in the future this will help a lot.
That's the perfect segue also to the registry, right? So when you're talking about real world data, you need to collect it and you need to have a system behind that. You're using the Straumann registry. Can you tell a bit more about what you're actually expecting out of it? Why are you using it? And has it already impacted how you do clinical work?
So basically with the implant registry from Straumann, you bring a lot of data into a registry, into a digital chart, let's say. All patients related to the patients, like the medical history, the risk factors, and everything that relates to your procedures, the type of implant surface and so on, but also type of procedure, adjunctive procedures, and so on. And the idea is also to do the follow-up of this. It is a wonderful tool that I actually implement in our clinic at the university for traceability, because it was something required. So the first goal and the first reason we brought it to the hospital was for that reason.
Okay.
But then, of course, it's also like a good management tool. It's always good to have like the real, data type of implants. I think for a practice, this is definitely very, very useful, and you don't need to work with Excel sheets anymore if you do it. But then, as an academic, I mean, this is a wonderful source of research data, real world data. But for that, of course, we not necessarily want to look at what type of implants we've placed. We want to look at the outcomes. We want to see. Yes. And then there is the challenge now in our clinic is really to have a proper follow-up and to every time we recall the patients to fill out, is there mucositis, is there periodontitis? I mean, but in a few years from now, I think this will be very, very interesting data.
Maybe just to promote the registry a bit, I think it's an amazing tool for all the practices and clinics. And I think we started like 2.5 years really ago. And today I think we have more than 40,000 patients.
45,000,
patients entries, and that's a lot. Imagine, I mean, very soon we will be at 100,000. So, and it's a very powerful pool of data for researchers all over the world.
And for those people that are actually really stringently managing, their clinical outcomes, as you say.
Exactly.
So we are in contact with a lot of clinicians that have been working with Excel sheets for years, and now this is also we can help to bring that data to actually the registry, and I think it makes it much more, I would say, controlled. If you want to evolve your treatment protocol and you want to know, am I walking in the right direction? Am I actually improving things? You need to be very patient. I mean, your recall scheme, maybe after a year you can say, well, now I changed protocol. Does it have a positive impact that I expected? Now you can measure it. And I think this is actually a big improvement. Now, let's also look a bit into the future. So we had discussed yesterday also quite interesting vision of your future. Maybe you can summarize a bit. When you look at implant dentistry in 10 years from now, how do you believe that you're going to practice? What's going to be the biggest difference to today? And what are you most looking forward to?
When you look back 20 years ago, there were some changes, but it's not as fast as we maybe wanted or hoped. Yeah. For example, if we're talking about growth factors or building evidence. But on the other hand, I think here we have a kick from AI. And what I find very fascinating now is the whole field of personalized medicine and how we will be able to implement all type of data, whether this is imaging, whether this is just data from patient health, risk factors, or biology, biomarkers, and at some point we will be able to integrate all this and really do targeted treatment and personalized medicine, patient-specific materials or protocols, procedures, follow-ups.
That's a very fascinating future. So I believe that could make a big impact. And we're just scratching the surface now with aggregating the data. Yeah. I mean, these virtual patients, or they become more and more, I would say, complete. But it's very strongly based today on static imaging data. But now in the future, maybe there is more data that we can gather, as we said, from the oral cavity, because there is so many biomarkers that, as we touched on before, are not only linked to oral health, but also to general health. So I'm very excited also about that future. And I think their regenerative biomaterials, they could also have a big role. What do you see coming in this direction? So when we're talking about regenerative biomaterials.
Yeah, it's true that actually one of my core topic in implant dentistry research topic is related to biomaterials, and our field is also very specific because the dental field is not oncology or it's not orthopedics. We treat healthy patients in principle. And it needs to be affordable. There is in most of the country not a social security system paying for that. So when it comes to regenerative materials, it needs to be simple, cheap, but efficient. So, we all dream of, for example, growth factors or cell therapy, and this works. But I'm not sure we're going to see it, especially in Europe, soon in dentistry, because it's expensive, and this is considered, at least in Europe, a little bit as a risk as well, because growth factors and this can invade the body. So we have to keep things simple. Yeah. And then another thing that is patient specific also for biomaterials, because in dentistry we are patient specific already since a long time when it comes to prosthetics and prosthetics. Exactly. And in the regenerative field, because now we have all this 3D imaging and I mean, this it's just almost the demand that is not there, because the tools are there. Yeah.
From the production methods like 3D printing, be it now meshes that are patient specific, but also bone regrowth elements that can be made fit to the patient. But I agree, when we talk about cell-based therapies, it's very quickly, or tissue-engineered therapies, it's very quickly becoming super expensive. And I think here dentistry is maybe also standing in its own way, because what we're doing today is super efficient and also working well. So, why would a patient spend $10,000, maybe $20,000 for a single tooth replacement if it could be done simpler? So I believe there is some fascinating topics that could be done, but is it viable from a health economic perspective? I believe it's a very good question that
we always need to think of the clinical translation, and this is where I always say I'm a scientist, but I'm clinically driven. It is really the clinic that needs to inspire the research and the teaching as well, and sometimes research that are trapped in their world cannot be critical in the implementation of the technology into the clinic.
Very true.
So thanks a lot for sharing all of those knowledge and insights into your journey, France. There is also an invitation for you to ask a question that you always wanted to ask us as an industry partner.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for letting also me challenging you a little bit, let's say. Huh? No, I wanted to ask you, I'm a periodontist. So, definitely implants are important tools to replace missing teeth. But as a dentist, even more as a periodontist, what I want is preserve and keep teeth as much as we can, because they are the standard of care, or they are the given.
That's what we start with.
Yeah, exactly. As an implant company, a manufacturer, how do you integrate, or how do you see tooth preservation, or even maybe implant preservation in your strategy? How do you integrate this oral health component in your philosophy?
That's a very good question. That's a very good question, and it's a question we get actually also quite often. There's a lot of assumptions in this. I think, the assumption that, we want to push, the usage of implants over, let's say, healthy teeth that have to go, even though they should stay. And I think, when we started with implant dentistry, there was from the founders the idea to create a solution for a problem that was not solved. And there was, if there's a tooth gap, what to do. And I think, still dental implants are a good choice there today, but it's not our motivation to let, let's say, teeth go that, have a hope in the future. And I think we still see the tooth as the best option today, probably. So there's a lot of dimensions to it. What I like is actually, what I observe at the moment is the tendency to minimal invasive dentistry, and not only in the surgical field, but also if it comes to the tooth structures that we eliminate when we do veneers and crowns like this. So I think this is a trend that we are very passionate about. Yeah, but there's a lot, and we have Emdogain as an example to preserve tooth, even though I know it's not preserving all the teeth, but has proven to be a great tool there as well.
To start with, I fully agree. Nothing can beat biology. So if you have a natural tooth that can be saved, I think that's the go-to treatment procedure. Now, when we look at market data, there is an incredible number of already missing teeth, and that's fueled by perio, caries, etc., and has a lot to do with the behavior of people. So how they take care of their teeth. Whether they're eating healthy or not, and also their means of, in their environment that they grow up, whether they had the chance actually to learn about, how to maintain your health. And I think as a company, we have the obligation to make sure that these kind of very basic prevention topics, they are also taken care of. And I think this is what we're doing with some of, let's say, our work. There is actually the foundation, the Straumann Foundation, that also looks into those kind of educational topics that really help to prevent the onset of, a history that you will lose over years than your teeth. Now, on the other hand, I think it's, as Andreas, you mentioned, it's very, you need to have partners that are very conscious about what are the right teeth to eradicate and take out, and what are healthy teeth that should stay in. And I think the guidelines that we touched upon as well, this is so important, and it needs to come, I think, also from the medical part. So you as partners, as educators, you need to take a lot of care, and you do this by making sure that people are not just eradicating healthy teeth. Now, there's always compromises, and I'm, for example, if you could choose between a 3-unit bridge or an implant, I think also from a biological perspective and from how much you are invasive, the implant is a very good choice because it maintains tissue. It doesn't, take down the, tooth substance from the neighboring teeth. It maintains bone height, etc. So it is a very viable option. And now the next step is often the patients that are losing teeth, they are also prone to get implant complications. So this is where I think then it's also our obligation to come with means to detect, prevent, and also treat if there is implant complications. So I think this is a bit how I see our role as a company to contribute to not just creating more tooth gaps, but serving the ones that are there in a proper way.
Absolutely, but this is very reassuring to see, because I think it's almost an ethical thing, and it's important to integrate. And as you mentioned, in most of the guidelines in implant dentistry, and especially when we considering implant timing and tooth replacement, the first headline is always, if you can preserve it, this is still the number one option.
I think it's a really great question. And the more you think about it, you realize, we said implant dentistry came a long way. It's working very well. Success survival rates are very good. But if we discuss it in this context, you still see how much and how many things we can still do, developments we can do in innovation, in treatment guidelines, education of clinicians, education of patients. There's still so much to be done, right? It's still implant dentistry in many ways in the early stages, because if you look in the penetration, and these are data from the EFP, it's only 15% of the patients that could receive an implant, and 85% of those patients are not receiving an implant. So I think there's a lot that we still can do together.
Yeah. There is no doubt that we don't want to prep teeth and.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So thanks a lot. That was an exciting hour.
Thank you.
France Lambert, thanks a lot for sharing deep insights into your journey and your beliefs, and how you build your career with a lot of passion for the field. Wanting going back as soon as possible and having the dreamer mode combined, also with a focus on execution, which I think you need both of them, and having a strong team in your back. So many thanks for sharing all of this, and to our listeners, thanks a lot for listening in to this episode. So watch out to more episodes to come around. And then whenever you want to comment, we are happy to receive your comments on any of the podcast platforms, and also to receive your questions to this podcast, but also to future podcasts. So thanks a lot.